MMO games are some of the most fun and engaging games you can play. Once you get hooked, they're just so fun to keep up to speed with, make and play with friends online, and it becomes one of those games we call home. If you're anything like me, you may have an itch to play a new MMO game, and although everything on this list might not fully release in 2024, they are either slated to or estimated to release this year. We'll kick it off with Dune Awakening, which is expected to drop into early access at some point in 2024. This is an open-world survival MMO that brings us into the universe of Frank Herbert's Dune. It's being developed by Funcom, who also made Conan Exiles, and it aims to blend together a dynamic weather and environment system with a rich resource-based economy to capture the essence of survival on the desert planet that is Arrakis. You're going to be navigating the spice trade via extracting it in the desert, the politics of the various factions, and warfare along the way, as you struggle to live against the game's various survival systems that has a big focus on its environment and maintaining drinking water and keeping your heat levels down. Of course, it wouldn't be Dune without the iconic vehicles and creatures such as the Ornithopter, as well as the persistent threat of the sandworms that are out in the open desert where you will need to go to extract that spice. As a survival MMO, there will be factions to join, allowing you to form alliances or attack other players. You will need to build a base, and one of the game's more interesting features is actually saving your base blueprint to then trade to other players in the community, allowing for a player-driven economy. Overall, the game will have a blend of action, strategy, and social interaction in a setting that aims to faithfully capture the depth of the Dune saga. And next we have Chrono Odyssey, expected to launch in 2024, but it could end up coming later. This is a very ambitious MMORPG developed by MPixel, and it's set in a universe where we as the player will manipulate time and space. It's meant to have a sprawling narrative involving gods, creatures, and multiple dimensions, hence the space-time manipulation mechanics. It's all in Unreal Engine 5, so we can expect amazing graphics, and although many games promise to shape the story or world with our actions, this one is meant to completely change our surroundings and the overall flow of the story. The gameplay mechanics of time control and multi-dimensional travel are central to overcoming various obstacles and uncovering more lore about the game as you go. There's quite a variety of different classes to pick and weapons to switch between while playing. It has a real-time combat system, and you can expect PvP and PvE content. Because of the game's different timelines and realities that you can explore, there will be unique challenges and moral dilemmas along the way, but perhaps a more exciting aspect is its dynamic events and giant world bosses that many players will have to team up together to bring down. And then we have Throne and Liberty, an MMO which has already released in Korea but is set to come to the West this year. This is a more conventional MMO with a vast seamless world that's meant to be rich in ecosystems with a dynamic weather system. The game includes numerous MMO staples like quests to do, dungeons, raids, and PvP, alongside the game's unique traversal mechanics, which also include gliding and grappling. The biggest problem with Throne and Liberty, however, is its reception in Korea, which is now known to include significant pay-to-win concerns. Interestingly, many players in Korea acknowledge its pay-to-win aspects but are still enjoying it for its engaging content and polished gameplay mechanics. If you ask me though, the success of Throne and Liberty in the West all comes down to how these monetization systems will change, but only time will tell. And then we have Blue Protocol, a more anime-stylized MMO, which is still awaiting its global release, which is expected to be in this year, after its release in Japan in 2023. This will be a free-to-play MMO developed by Bandai Namco and is being published by Amazon Games. The game is set in a fantasy land where players will embark on a journey to uncover their origins and the fate of the world, which teeters on the brink of destruction due to an over-reliance on technology. We've actually played some of this ourselves in a beta, and the gameplay is quite dynamic and action-packed, with various customization options and a bunch of classes to choose from, with completely different weapons and playstyles such as the Blade Warden, Foe Breaker, Keen Strider, Spell Weaver, and Twin Striker, each with their own unique abilities. On top of this, if you like standing out in your MMOs, there's various customization options for your avatar, different outfits, mounts, and emotes, and these play a crucial role in the game's microtransaction model. Despite it being free to play, the game is actively trying to avoid avoid pay-to-win elements and focusing on the cosmetic and other convenience items. If you do a little research into this, you can actually see it's quite interesting with the feedback from the Japanese players. So again, for this one, I think it all depends on how the game is changed and remodeled for the Western market. But moving away from the anime style, we go to the more realistic Pax Dei, set to release in early access in spring of this year. This is an open-world survival sandbox MMO with a heavy emphasis on community interaction and player-driven content. It's quite an interesting concept because every building within the game is set to be constructed by players, and the economy will be entirely player-run without any of the traditional NPC quest givers or vendors that you would expect. The gameplay will focus around the pure sandbox elements of gathering, crafting, and building, and comes with a heavy reliance on player cooperation and community building. If you've ever played a game like Rust before, I'll be interested to see how this one pans out in the long run. But following their more recent playtests, they're focusing on revamping the game's various systems to make the RPG and stat mechanics a little better, to enhance the gameplay depth by adding new spells and special attacks, as well as introducing more robust and impactful combat animations. There's actually new alpha tests currently happening for the game, and they have said that these are crucial in determining the readiness for the game's projected early access launch. And then we have Once Human, which is set to release sometime in the third quarter of this year. It's an upcoming MMO set in a post-apocalyptic world where humanity has been threatened by an alien infection that has transformed the Earth's environment into a dark and dangerous landscape. While you play, you'll have to battle infected fauna and flora, but also be wary of other survivors in PvP. There's a big emphasis on the survival mechanics of this MMO, such as resource management and the constant threat of the alien infestation. The environment is going to be hazardous, and there'll be aggressive creatures that have been mutated by this alien presence. So you're going to need to collaborate to collect resources, form alliances, and establish territories and build safe zones. Think of this as a blend of horror, survival, and traditional MMO gameplay. And then for something a bit different, which is also set for this year, it's Tarisland. This is an upcoming MMO RPG being developed and published by Tencent. It's set in a fantasy world teeming with diverse environments, from misty forests to deserts. There might have been alarm bells ringing when you heard Tencent, and the fact that this is releasing on PC and mobile platforms. However, they have emphasized that they have a focus on fair play mechanics, and they are actively avoiding the pay-to-win model to ensure that players' skill and strategy will be the key factors of success in-game. Of course, we'll have to see it to believe it. However, the game is also designed to appeal to a broader audience with a deep lore and its stylized, distinctive graphics. This one is definitely inspired by World of Warcraft, and there's set to be 9 classes, each with unique abilities and playstyles. It's going to be a fully cross-play experience, so you can freely switch between PC and mobile platforms. It's kind of aiming to engage both the casual and hardcore gamers with this new world to explore and its easy access across these platforms. But then for something totally different, it's Project LLL, scheduled for sometime this year if it makes that deadline. This is an upcoming MMO third-person shooter being developed by NC Soft. It's set in a vast open world built on the latest Unreal Engine technology and is meant to have a world that spans over 30 square kilometers in size. This one combines elements of sci-fi with alternative historical narratives, such as a post-apocalyptic Seoul, the Byzantine Empire of the 10th century, and a futuristic 23rd century. As a third-person shooter though, it's set to have an array of weapons ranging from conventional firearms to more futuristic gear, but also vehicles and mechs that can be used in combat. With all of this, they're focusing on making it a more tactical game, with the actual environment reacting to our players' actions, and a narrative that drives both PvE and PvP encounters, which does sound interesting. Of course, there is a lot more MMOs on the horizon, but these seem to be the best bets for 2024. For honorable mentions, we have Corepunk, a top-down MMORPG developed by Artificial Core. This blends together sci-fi and fantasy within a seamless open world. There's also Soulframe, a fantasy MMO being developed by Digital Extremes, the same creators of Warframe. This time it's going to be much more slower, and it will have methodical combat that emphasizes tactics, strategic movement, and environmental interaction. And of course there's Ashes of Creation, the ongoing project that many are excited for, but I don't think we'll be getting a release anytime soon. This is an upcoming fantasy MMO that promises to have a dynamic, player-driven world where the actions of the community directly influence the environment and the progression of the game itself. So what MMO are you most excited for, or is there one that you have your eye on that didn't make it onto this list? Make sure you're subscribed below because we will give you updates on these games as and when there's more to talk about.